Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Bourbon Basement. My name's Ryan,
I'm Steve.
and we're going to be doing our fourth
Fourth
episode.
episode.
Fourth episode of the Bourbon Basement here on this beautiful Friday evening. Actually, been a gorgeous day here in Kentucky. Sunny most of the day, a little bit of overcast, but it's like mid 70s, almost at the end of October, so you can't really complain with that.
Just got back from the track.
You all just got back from the track.
I had a good time. Lost some money.
I
Gave
was
it to the horses.
I
I
was about to
guess.
say we won't talk about how much money was lost.
I just want to say it's really hard to do a live show on time. So sorry for
We've
all
been
you
good
people.
about it up to this point. We're not that bad off
Sorry
right
for
now.
everybody that is on Twitch that is expecting us on at 6, and we didn't make it on till
6:30,
6:27.
We probably went live at
That's my fault. Went to Keeneland today, bet a little bit on the ponies. Had a good time. Lost a little bit on the ponies.
Welcome to Kentucky.
Yeah, really. Last week we said we'd do a little bit on we'd either do Bookers or we'd do Old Forester.
Said that we were going to flip a coin. We decided not to do that, and we just went with.
We're going with Bookers.
We went with Bookers.
It was the shortest or least amount in the bottle. You can tell we're about done with it. So we have had Bookers before. We both enjoy Bookers.
Very much.
And I'll just get into a little bit of the history of Bookers. So it's not an extensive history. It only goes back to like 1988. So Booker Noe, he is the grandson of Jim Beam. So he's actually the sixth generation master distiller, Jim Beam there. And so Booker has since passed, and now the master distiller is his son Fred. So there's actually 7 generations now. 7 generations master distillers, the Jim Beam in the Jim Beam distillery there. But it's Freddie No. But Booker, anyway, that was his daddy. And he was master distiller there for 40 years. He was master distiller for 40 years. And as he was doing his distilling and had it in his family, he had been in the distillery since he was probably a teenager, probably sweeping up and stuff. You know how kids work for their family all the time. And anyway, he goes through and becomes master distiller. And what he did and how Booker's came about is he would go around and he would sample from the barrels, the way they do it still, the way they did it then. And he would pick special barrels that just was his favorite, and he'd take them home and he'd host events for the distillery and for family and friends, and that is what he served. And it came straight from the barrel, and he would serve them those drinks. And it was so popular with the people that came for the events and the people in his family and friends that he decided one day, hey, let's make a barrel proof small batch bourbon, and he put his name on it. And actually the Booker's bottle, that's his handwriting on the bottle. That's how he did his first bottles. And actually his first bottles that he did, he bottled them for himself and he gave them as gifts at these events. So if you got a Booker's that predates 1988, you've probably got your hand on a pretty expensive bottle, probably $2,500 or so,
or more, depending on where it gets sold at.
So if you got an old bottle of Booker's, maybe don't crack it wax yet until you see the date. And the special thing about the bottles is every bottle, I don't know how well you can see this, but every bottle tells you the batch number. It tells you how old it is. This one is 7 years, 2 months, and 29 days.
Down to the day.
So Booker, he liked and thought barrels were the best between 6 and 8 years old. All right. He also liked barrels from the center of the rick house. So that's the barrels that he would select. And that's the barrels that actually still get selected today for Booker's. Center of the warehouse, 7 or 6 to 8 years old, and always batch proof. So it's always 120 to 131 proof.
Full stiff.
Always. So that's the way they make Booker's. Booker's is pretty cool. They come with this little handmade box.
It's pretty sweet.
It is, and they have special dishes but they only release 4 batches of
Butchers.
4 batches of Bookers per year, and they use about 320 barrels per batch. So 1,200 barrels a year is all you're going to get of Bookers. Once it's gone, it's gone. They move on to the next batch. But this it comes with a little card in the box, gives you a little bit of history about the particular batch that you're drinking. It tells you where every barrel come from, and this one here in particular has 26 barrels that came from the 6th floor of a 7-story warehouse Z, and then 14% of the barrels came from the 6th floor of a 9-story warehouse H, so on and so forth. It gives you the whole breakdown of all that. But what it don't
Which
give
is
me,
the only one that I know of that does that, right?
I haven't
seen any more.
I haven't seen this on anything else. But what it doesn't give you is the mash bill. So this is a Jim Beam product, and you know how I am. I like to know how much corn, how much rye, how much wheat, and all that stuff. So I can't find that with this one. Uh, there is speculation in some of the articles that I read, and this is all speculation. It's 70% corn, 15% rye, and 15% malted barley. So if that tells you, don't know how true that is, that's just what the speculation is. So Booker decided to bottle this and release it. And from all the stories that I could find, it seemed like Booker Noe was the guy that I would like to know. I would have like to hang out with him and hear all his stories and drink some bourbon with him.
Especially if he's giving this kind of stuff as Christmas
Well,
gifts.
it seemed like he seemed like a very good guy. I read a couple articles that I thought were going to be about Booker's bourbon,
but it was about him as
it
a
was
person.
kind of about an experience that someone had with him. There was one about a guy that was driving one of the tour buses for one of his events and his parties at the house, and he was the bus driver, and they were going to go park and wait for all the important people, I guess, to leave. And Booker wouldn't let them. He's like, "Oh no, you got to come in." And so he invited them to this. I'm guessing he's hosting stuff like trying to sell this bourbon all around the world. And he invited the bus drivers in. Well, it so happened that the bus drivers were band players, and they were just doing this part time. And he had a band playing, and they took their first break, and they asked if they could use the equipment, and they did, and they played the rest of the night. That's how they liked them. And the story actually is Booker's bottle, how I got a Booker's bottle.
Yeah.
And so Booker Noe gave that bus driver a bottle of Booker's before Booker's was released.
Before Booker's was
so
Booker's.
He had a 1984 bottle of Booker's, and he knew he had something special. They took it back to Jim Beam. So Booker passed in 2004. And they took it back to Jim Beam like in 2012, 2016. And Jim Beam bought that bottle back from them because they had 83. Did I say 84 or 86?
86?
86. So they had like the 83, 84, 85 bottle, but they didn't have an 86 bottle. So it went right on their shelf. And that's where I got the $2,500 price range for ones before Booker got released. So
that's all they gave him for that?
$2,500
to complete their collection. That's outrageous.
It didn't complete it. It got them one bottle away, I think. So if somebody's got like an 87 bottle out there before, I think you got something on
you
your
got
hands.
something real special because Jim Beam wants it.
Jim Beam wants it. Go to the distillery if they haven't found it yet. This was an old article. But he just seems like a really cool guy. That was one of the cool stories I heard about him. Another one is he was doing an interview. The guy come up to his porch and he's like, hands him a glass of Kentucky tea, he called it, with a bunch of water and a bunch of ice. And that's the other thing I wanted to tell you about Booker's. So when Booker made this bottle, of course, you can enjoy it neat. You can enjoy it with ice. You can enjoy it however you want. But
when we tried it last time, we tried it neat.
Yeah, and we're going to do our sampling of it with it neat today. But our tasting of it neat today. But Booker's, when he made this and he drinks it, he says it's 1 part Booker's, 2 parts water, and a lot of ice. And he calls it Kentucky tea. And that's how Booker liked to drink this. I read an article with Freddie, his son, on it, and Freddie says the same thing. And that's a New York or a Times article, and Freddie said the same thing. And anyway, so that's kind of what I know about Booker's. It's not a whole lot. Oh, I will tell you this. I was checking some of my notes there. So Booker's Magazine, Booker's Magazine. I'm mixing them up. So Food and Wine Magazine named Booker's the number 2 most important bourbon out of the. They had a top 25 most important bourbons, and Booker's bourbon was number 2, and I can tell you why. So
Let me tell you something.
let me tell you something. So, of course, bourbon went down in popularity, and everybody turned to the vodka and gin and the clear spirits. Well, when Booker released a high quality, small batch, high proof bourbon, it kind of turned the market around. It got more interest back in bourbon. So it's kind of a turning point from the early 70s to the or early 80s to the late 70s, all clear. Then it kind of started turning back toward bourbon, and it's been, bourbon's very popular now. And Booker actually coined the phrase small batch.
Would you say it's still on the rise or just at a steady pace now?
Bourbon, I think it's go from everything I see, man. I can't believe how many people we meet on these tours, and they come from all over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world. They come from every place, and they're excited about bourbon, and I think it's still going up. I think it's still going up.
If it's not going up, it's very, very, very steady.
There's so many bourbons now, and so many small distilleries
You're never
that are
run out of
making
stuff to taste.
It's all the time. Did I leave anything out? I talked to you about this before, so probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so, if you go out now to buy a bottle of Booker's, you may not find it. They're not readily available. I told you they only release 4 batches a year. So if you do see one on the shelf, you're going to pay anywhere. I've seen them from, I think the cheapest I've seen is $88.
Which is a steal.
Up to about $135 for just a normal bottle of Booker's. They do release 4 batches a year. I don't know if that was the first batch, second batch, third batch. I don't know.
I don't think it says it on there, actually.
We got a batch. Yeah, look at that. You got the good eyes. But it's not readily available, so you're going to pay a little bit more for it. It's a high proof bourbon, and
this is batch number 3.
But it is not allocated or anything like that.
Actually, is that a 2 or a 3? This is batch number 2.
And it's my only bottle, so I've missed out on
the
1, 3,
Storyteller
4.
batch.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So Storyteller batch, they name every batch of Booker's, and every name that they give it is significant to Booker himself. So there was one named Springfield that was Booker's hometown, so they named it Springfield. This one's the Storyteller, so I can only imagine him.
He was a good
sitting on the porch, drinking his Kentucky tea, and telling all kinds of stories of his family, the Jim Beam family. I mean, who wouldn't want to hear some stories about Jim Beam family? And then, I mean, just being a master distiller for 40 years.
Dude lived a heck of a
life. I will tell you this, and you think that, oh, well, he's just the grandson of Jim Beam. That's the only reason he got it, right? Got the job? Wrong. So during that decline in his 40 years, when bourbon was on the decline, Jim Beam's profits went up 1,200%. 1,200% under Booker as the master distiller in the time he was there. So he was good at his job. And if you go and you look at all the names in bourbon, you're going to see Noel. That's Jim Beam's daughter's family. So grandson and on. You're going to see Jim Beam. That's first cousins of the original Jim Beam and everything else. That's the cousin line. And where are they at? Are they at Buffalo Trace? Where is the Beam family? The other, like the real BEAM. I've got a signature up here somewhere. Sorry, everybody. This is unplanned and unstudied. Anyway, I've got a signature of one of the Beams, but they're all over the place. So it looks like a Beam, but that's a limited edition bottle, so that's going to be like a distillery select thing. Anyway, don't worry about it. Let's get on with this thing. They don't want to hear about this, anyway. But anyway, the name's very important in bourbon, and there's something to it.
Yeah,
it's because they're bred with that palate
Yeah.
that most of us don't have, that we're still trying to develop.
We're struggling every time to find something in the mixture that we haven't found before, but we'll get there
All right,
eventually.
right. Well, let's get into tasting. I'm gonna let you pour and you talk for a while I get some water on my throat because I done talked
That's what happened over here drinking. You're making me thirsty.
Don't talk too much.
What kind of pour?
Let's just do an ounce pour because I got another special thing for you later.
This one is definitely one of the. It might be the stiffest one we have on the shelf.
You right here. Don't worry about it.
Huh?
I couldn't find it.
Oh, the other thing.
Yeah.
ASMR.
I'll let you talk about the tasting too. What we're going to kind of do. We're only doing one today, so the only palate cleanser we have is water.
Same thing we always do. We're going to start out. We're going to observe the color of it, and then we're going to. Oh, okay. Wow, that ended up
A little more than an ounce.
Third. Well, no,
It'd be all right.
it'd be all right. Yeah.
Just give it to me if you don't want.
There you go. Yep. Honestly, I might end up screwing up and pouring mine bigger than that. But we're going to start out with the same thing, looking at the color of it, and then we're going to go with the first taste, which is going to be acclimating yourself to the burn, which this one, it's got some burn to it, but just because it's such a high proof.
2 ounce side. 1 ounce.
Ah, well.
If you do a 1 ounce pour, you can just pour it to the top of this.
I think that's pretty good.
You did good. I'm impressed.
That's got to be close to
I'm
an
impressed.
ounce.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to teach him moment. He's still my son, guys.
But it's gonna be a burner, if I remember correctly from when we had this last time. But it was a good burn. Like it wasn't one that was.
Let's just do it. Let's do it and describe the burn.
What if I want to smell my beans?
Beans for you to smell.
This one, if I remember correctly, it had some good tears on it. It was a nice thick
chew. I bet it has a thick chew.
Okay.
I bet it has a thick chew. I like the color. I always like the darker bourbons.
It's a very dark.
This
amber.
is a nice dark amber color. It's got some of that orangey in there more than the brown, but I like the color of this. It's very good. If you give it a little wiggle and you let it settle for a minute, you get some whiskey tears going. Have you watched any of our videos? Do you think you see it pretty good when you do that?
It's some are hit or miss.
Yeah. This one, I got a whiskey line right now. It's like ooh, and then it'll drop down here in a minute. It still hasn't dropped. So.
I think we've got a request.
All right, well,
in the chat over on Twitch.
Oh no.
Let's see. Where's my chat at?
If it's my daughter, I'm gonna call her in a minute.
Hold on. I think it said something. Oh no, the chat disappeared.
We gotta keep that up.
It was something. I don't know, I could see it on here. Give me a second. Okay. I won't let that happen again. I don't know why I didn't have the chat open, but she requested that you say Booker's bourbon bottles 5 times as fast as you can.
Booker's bourbon bottles, 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 Booker's bourbon bottles. Boom.
That's pretty good.
It was good for non-practice stuff.
That was not staged. That was my sister, his daughter, that requested that in the chat over on Twitch. That was not staged.
Thanks, baby girl. I love you.
That was pretty good. I'm impressed.
I am too. How fast can you do it?
I'm not going to try. I think that we're going to end it on a high note. You succeeded.
Well, I'll tell you about my nose on this. So I've been smelling this and I love it. This is one of my favorite ones that we've done so far as the nose of it. I get the oak cinnamon and
of course
and spice.
I think that's every bourbon
and vanilla. I get all that. But I pull out some floral notes in this.
I do as well. Like a lily, A daylily.
It smells like you're walking through just like a field of wildflowers, and I do that every day, so I know what it smells like.
Roses, even.
Like if you open the door to a florist, when you walk in, guys, if you're going to buy your wife some Valentine's Day roses, and you walk into a florist, and boom, you got all that smell of the floral and the flowers. That's what I get out of this, along with the normal oak, spice, cinnamon, and vanilla. But I pull out that floral. And I told you all, I'm still working on my nose and my palate.
It's just smooth. For this to be such a high proof.
I don't get that alcohol-y burn
it doesn't
in my
burn
nose.
your nose.
Okay. You want to go in for it?
Yep, we'll go in for our first taste, which is just acclimating ourselves to the burn. It, like I said, it does have a significant burn.
For those of you that haven't joined us before, you know that this is a keep in your mouth and hold for 5 to 10 second kind of thing, moving it around. So it'll get silent and we'll probably look funny, but just bear with us.
Just having our mouthwash for the day.
No judgment yet?
I have a sore on my tongue, so my eyes are actually watering a little bit. It actually hurt really bad.
Look at that burn.
That's it. Don't do this if you have sores on your tongue. I don't recommend. We'll be okay.
I've got the burn. It's it is a thick chew. It coats the inside of your mouth like paint almost. I mean, just like when you're painting a wall, it coats it so good.
Very thick.
It's thick and it whirls around your tongue, so you get a lot of burn on the side of your tongue.
I'm gonna say, as far as that goes, it's opposite of what we did last week because it was so thin.
Yes.
What Calumet? That's what we did last week.
Calumet. All right. I'm gonna go for number 2.
Yep, number 2. Still just acclimating ourselves, not judging any taste yet.
Now, number 2, you don't have to hold in your mouth as long, and you'll notice that it ain't going to burn as much.
I found the sore again.
Yeah, but it didn't burn as much, did it?
It's like a constant burn. It doesn't go away. It's just right here on the tip of my tongue. This is brutal. I'm doing this for you all.
I didn't get as much burn that time. I didn't get the burn going down my throat or anything.
We'll come back to this one for you when you have a sore on your tongue.
I can still feel. I mean, you can still feel the heat and the spice on it. All right, I'm number 3.
I'm ready to start judging.
Let's judge it.
I'm ready. All right.
Leave myself enough.
Savory. That's my first word that comes to mind.
Savory. Get a dry finish.
Yes.
I mean, my tongue.
I think that's one thing we've been missing on when we're doing our tastings. We don't even really talk about the finish as much as what we should.
No, but I think some of them we describe with the flavor and stuff. We talk about something that lingers, and we talk about the heat that lingers and the burn.
I guess that along with finish.
Yeah, some of the finish. I mean, we're not experts, so I hope you all. You know what we didn't do though? We didn't tell them to get a daggone glass of bourbon or Booker's and join us, and that's what we're here for.
We kind of figured you would have just assumed that.
We want to. If you watch us regularly, you know that we want you to be our drinking.
Even if you didn't have this bottle, just get your bottle down.
Any bottle of Booker's, and that's the other thing.
Any bottle at all.
There's 4 batches a year. They're all going to taste a little different. But it's a small batch. They're going to try to keep them kind of the same. It all depends on your master distiller who picks your barrels and how they mesh them.
I'm getting a savory. It's a, and I know that it's going to sound like we say the same stuff all the time, but
a lot of them are the same.
I'm getting a savory maple, it's kind of like a smoky, like if you're putting something with maple chips in a smoker.
So you said it's sometimes that we say the same things, and if that's what we taste, it's because our palates. Everybody's palate's different. You may have a palate that you don't taste any vanilla, and every bourbon I taste vanilla and I taste oak.
And there's obviously no wrong answers when it comes to tasting.
No.
We got another chat from old Cheer 4BC. Would you suggest this bourbon for someone who doesn't go to bourbon as their drink of choice?
No.
No.
This is a bourbon that you're
Good question.
gonna. It is. This is a bourbon that you would want to drink if you're an experienced bourbon drinker. The high proof of the bourbon is something that you. I think if someone new to bourbon was to drink this, just the heat of it on that first acclimation,
It would turn them off.
it would turn them off because they think, how can anybody drink this? So anytime you're a new bourbon drinker, I suggest you won't get as many of the good flavors pulled out of it, but a lower proof bourbon. Uh, so bourbon has to be at least 80 proof, and I would stay between 80 and 90 proof if you're new to bourbon.
Yeah.
And even then, I might mix that bourbon with something before. I would definitely
or at least dilute it with some ice.
I would definitely at least put ice on it
Put
to
it on
drink
the
it with ice. If you're going to drink it with just bourbon, if you want to mix it with Coke or something, you'll get that very sweetness out of the bourbon,
and it'll take a lot.
But it'll take
a lot of the edge
off
of it.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting to get acclimated to bourbon,
and thank you for that,
I suggest mixing it with something actually, just to see if you even like the notes that it adds.
I've seen a lot of podcasts that's what they suggest too. Me personally, I started with Makers and Coke.
Bourbon and Coke.
I told that story a lot, but it wasn't until I started drinking Woodford that I was like, "This is too good to mix." It's too good to mix. So that's Woodford kind of got me on wanting to try every other bourbon in the world that is a Kentucky bourbon, at least.
You know what's wild though, and I know it's bad to even think of doing this, but I bet this is amazing in a bourbon and Coke.
I would never do it.
I wouldn't dream of doing it, but I can only imagine that someone out there has done it. Let us know what you thought if you've done it, because you're a different breed.
You know what I didn't do, and I poured more for it.
Dilute it.
Put water in.
Distiller's water.
Yeah.
You want?
No, I'm good. Because I got the special coming up. So
I'm gonna do
pour
that.
some more. So I got vanilla, I got oak, I didn't taste the floral like I smelled, but I get a lot of caramel corn, almost like caramel corn at the fair that you would eat, the popcorn. And I think Booker's is really good. And once you get used to that high proof, I think it's good. And we're drinking it neat right now. And I would drink this neat. And this is how I've always drunk this until today. Can you reach over there and grab those?
I'm getting a lot of caramel with the distiller's water. I'm getting the maple still, so it's more like it went from savory to sweet with the water, and it's more of like a candy. It's like a turtle, like a chocolate covered turtle. It's kind of what I'm pulling out. A nutty caramel kind of.
That's a good description.
A nutty caramel, chocolatey kind of thing with the distiller's water.
That's a very good description. If you would, so I've got a little surprise. So Booker, no, if this is the way he drank it, this is the way I'm gonna drink it. Because he is the master distiller. He's the one. His name's on the bottle. His notes on the bottle. This is what he wanted, and it was 1 part bourbon, 2 parts water.
No. 1 part Booker's.
1 part Booker's. Thank you.
Not just bourbon.
2 parts water and a lot of ice. And then he would let it breathe. He let it breathe. So that's what we've been doing. And if you saw the color, you can see what ice and water do to bourbon.
It looks a lot more like watered down tea now.
But that's how he drank it. And I'm ready to take a drink of this and see if I taste anything different.
This is our Kentucky tea, courtesy of Booker.
When I drink it like that, of course, there's no burn. It's very diluted.
It's very diluted.
It's very diluted. You can take a big gulp
and still probably not have anything. I mean, the only way that you would know that you drank any kind of alcohol is how it hits you afterwards. Like,
well, it's just because we just hit it full proof.
Maybe.
High. So this seems awful diluted right now.
We need a guest.
But to me,
experiment.
To me, I taste a lot of vanilla and caramel in this.
Yes, it's very sweet.
Vanilla, caramely, it's very good.
We need a clear
evidently
palette.
we can't get our guest to come on. She's a little camera shy.
I was gonna see how much this would burn for someone that hasn't been acclimated for anything.
Take it to her and let her try a sip and see what she thinks. So while he's doing that, we'll get her opinion here in a second. But like I said, so a lot of water. I mean, 1 part Booker's and 2 parts water and a lot of ice. And our ice is even kind of melted since it's been here. Hey, my daughter, everybody.
Hi.
This is Haley.
A Bourbon Basement here.
It's the first time she's been here for one of our episodes, so she's got to watch it live and see it live right in front. Do you want autographs after this show?
Yes, please. Thank you for having me.
We lost
All right.
our producer sometime throughout the show. And
well, just take a sip. We know you're not a big drinker. She's not a bourbon drinker.
Mm.
She's just going to have a sip and just tell us what she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Live reaction.
You don't have to like it.
Mm-hmm. You can definitely tell it's watered down and diluted. Like
Does it burn?
It doesn't hit you in the face like a lot of the bourbon tastings that we've done before.
But does it burn?
It does not.
Haley has been on some bourbon tastings with us before, so that's all neat tastings.
I normally end up finishing her part of the tasting though.
He does. Yes.
But you didn't get the burn. But do you get any flavors? Do you taste any flavors like that?
It tastes woodsy.
Woodsy.
Outdoorsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Burly.
Yeah, like a man.
So if you do the 1 part Booker's, thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
If you do the 1 part Booker's, 2 parts water, and plenty of ice, I guess a newcomer could drink Booker's if they do it.
If you
Booker
do it
Knows way.
If you dilute it enough to where you're actually going to be able to handle it as a person that doesn't drink bourbon normally, then I say go for it.
Well, I bet Booker drank it like sweet tea. I bet he had a cup full of ice, put a cup of
and that was just
some water, and then that bourbon in there, and then drink it in three or 4 drinks. And when bourbon's neat, it's a sipper. When it's like this, it's a gulper. You can drink this.
I can't suggest if you have anywhere to go because this will probably hit you like a truck afterwards at 130 proof.
The high proof will probably
at 130 proof it'll probably hit you like a Mack truck afterwards.
Yeah. All right, man. I hope that we were helpful in some way today. We let you know how Booker liked to drink it. If you've got some Bookers, you might want to try it his way.
Along with that, if you find Bookers, highly recommend getting it. Even if you are new, if you're wanting to get
stars, we haven't gave it a star. So 10-star scale, remember? 10-star scale.
I wasn't talking or anything.
Oh, dang it, I forgot. I'm very rude at interrupting. Go ahead.
If you see Bookers in the store, even if you're just now getting into bourbon, and you think that you're going to enjoy it, buy it because it's not easy to find. It really isn't. It's really disappointing to see how low this bottle of my father's here actually is already. Because hard telling how long it'll be before we actually do find another bottle of it. But
I know where some are right now.
Okay, well, never mind. I stand corrected.
But
we're not going to tell you where because
it's getting them though. It's getting them and affording them because they're pretty pricey.
Well, we're not going to tell you where it is because those are our bottles. But if you happen to get lucky enough to find some, go for it, and then just save it for when you get more acclimated. So, stars from 1 to 10. This one, you go first. I went first last time.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
People are gonna think that we're just piggybacking off of each other. Because
you say an 8?
I'm thinking like 8.5, 9, maybe.
I was thinking an 8. I really. So the first time I had Booker's, I wasn't a fan.
It was when we did it.
We had a tasting here.
A tasting with the family here at the bar.
We had a tasting here. We had several bourbons that night.
Too many bourbons that night.
Probably. We tasted 8.
8.
And I'm not skimpy with my tastings.
8, and then we also had some more bourbon upstairs
with some big, thick T-bones and ribeye steaks.
Great night.
Man, it was one of my favorite nights.
It was such a good night.
It may be this far. Let's see, this far below my wedding and the birth of my children. Is that close? But it's such a wonderful night.
We've got another comment before we actually get into the ranking.
Okay.
Do you collect the bottles once they're empty?
I collect a bottle as far as when this one's empty, I'm going to keep it until I get another one. and then I do not collect this. Then this
But
one,
that's when you plan on getting another one because you enjoyed it. What
yes.
about the ones that you don't prefer as much and you can't foresee yourself buying again?
If I can't foresee myself buying it again, I probably won't ever collect it because it doesn't even matter. Now, I have some bottles here that have been signed by master distillers. I will keep those,
Of course,
because they're signed. I have a bottle here. Where is it? Oh, it's in the back. Uh-oh, guys.
I am a bottle collector myself.
He's an everything collector. I have a bottle of Knob Creek 9 here. It's special because this was for my 50th birthday.
That's actually my bottle.
Yes, it is. And I've got mine up there because it's not empty.
We went on the distillery tour, and they only offered this particular bottle on the tour, and they actually let you bottle it yourself and put your fingerprint in the wax when they sealed it.
And the cool thing about this, a lot of memories, and I'll never get rid of these bottles, mine or Ryan's. We both bought them. They're personalized towards us. That's got his thumbprint, Ryan's thumbprint on the top. I actually dumped the barrel that they used to fill these jugs.
And got to have a drink of it
and
right
got
out of
to
the...
drink it from the barrel on my birthday. I don't know if it was a birthday thing or...
We'll get into that when we talk about Knob Creek, though. We've got a lot of stories when it gets to Knob Creek.
But there are bottles that are special to me that I will keep. But most bottles, like this Booker's bottle here, it's great. And if I had everyone in the collection, I might keep it.
Yeah.
But since I do not and won't ever now because the batches are done, next time I find a Booker's, I'll buy that one. And this one will be probably craft or trash. There's a lot of crafts people make.
I was about to say, we reuse a lot of the bottles for other things.
They get
in the family. Yeah.
We've got some talented people in the family, and they make some crafts with them. So I donate those to them, and that's what it'll be. Thank you for the question. And I love that we're actually getting questions tonight. It's first night. First night.
It gives us more to talk about other than just
the
normal stuff.
But anyway, let's close it out.
Stars?
I said
8.5 and 8.
I said 8.
So that's definitely, since we started doing the stars, I don't think we did it on our first episode.
No, but this is an 8.
I mean, this has got to be every bit of an 8, 8.5.
Yeah. And when I get to that 10, then that'll be a bottle that I have all the time.
Thanks for the info. Might actually try me a bottle if I can get my hands on one.
Another comment.
Best of luck to you. Same person. Cheer for BC. Thanks for the questions. Good luck getting a bottle. That's all I can say about that. You're going to enjoy it, though, when you get it.
They're not allocated, so
definitely worth it.
But there's only 360 barrels made, so about 50 to 55 bottles per barrel. So you can do the math on that. I mean, it's probably 16 to 1,800 bottles that are released 4 times a year. So less than 8,000 bottles a year if you're going by that method.
Now, are we going to decide what we're doing next episode now, or are we going to...
What is next week? Next week's November.
Yes.
We'll be in November 2nd. No, November 1st.
Sure.
Birthday is the 13th. But anyway, so anybody wants to say happy birthday to me next...
we can give you our P.O. box if you want to send us any kind of gifts. I don't know if they'll let you.
I tell you what, let's do a smaller distillery, one that we haven't really done.
So like not a big name, not one that you see.
I don't know. Let's do something pretty. We're all Kentucky bourbons. I want to do a small distillery, so we'll do let's do James E. See what I'm doing. It's hard for me to decide right now because I'm having a bourbon tasting for my birthday on the 15th. And I've gave options for a bunch of bottles to be tasted on that day. So I don't want to do a bottle that we're going to be doing that day. And it's a surprise for you too. So
yeah, fair enough.
I'll have to decide. Let's do Basil Hayden. It's an open bottle up there. Or we can talk about Knob Creek.
You all can help us out with this, by the way. If you have any suggestions
is what we like. We can do Evan Williams single barrel. We can do Elijah Craig single barrel. All those are open bottles.
Our question from Cheer for BC: can you choose a distiller that no bourbon drinkers may enjoy?
No, because I enjoy all bourbons.
I've not had a bad bourbon.
I enjoy all bourbons. I haven't found one I don't like.
I don't feel like, even if it isn't the best bourbon ever, that we should just absolutely roast them live on stream. I
Well,
feel
you
like
know what we haven't done? What are the ones that the bars around here use in their bottom shelf?
They're well
mixed-
drinks.
Yeah, they're
Kentucky
well drinks.
Gentlemen.
Kentucky Gentlemen. And
As
I don't
far
even
as
have a
most
bottle
bars
back
go,
here.
most bars, their well drink. If you're getting a bourbon and coke or something, if you go up to them and say, "Hey, I just want a bourbon and coke," you don't specify to mix with anything. More than likely, you're getting Kentucky Gentleman, which is their well drink.
Yeah. So
Heaven Hills, I think, is their well vodka. You can get
I tell you what, that bottle of Heaven Hills back here is primo.
Well, another episode, buddy.
Let's do an open bottle. You want to go with Evan Williams or Elijah Craig or Basil Hayden?
Have you had all those?
We've all had them. That was our last tasting.
I didn't have
You got it.
Basil,
Yeah, we didn't do Basil in the tasting.
and I don't
We
think
did the single barrel Evans and the single barrel Elijah Craig in the Basil.
Let's do
in the
Basil.
tasting. All right, Basil Hayden. Next
Basil
week.
Hayden is next week, so look
Basil
forward to that. Next Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Maybe.
I was here.
He was.
I beat them to their own house, so I don't want.
Hopefully I'll be on time Friday. I got on him the week before because he was 5 minutes, pushing it within 5 minutes.
And I was still good to go on time.
Get us some subscribers. Sign us off.
Sign us off, huh? All right. Hopefully you all did go on to enjoy. Thank you all for giving us a little bit of time out of your day. Hopefully you enjoy watching as much as we enjoy putting the show on. It's always a fun time getting to taste new bourbons. A lot of them that we haven't had before. We did both have this one, but it was good to get to try it again before the bottle ran out. Because I'm sure the next time that I come, it won't have anything left of it.
It's pretty low.
A couple glasses left in there is all. But once again, guys, thanks so much. If you're new, be sure to follow us on Twitch or follow us on YouTube. We're live on both. But if you want to go back and watch any of our archived live streams, they are on our YouTube channel. The Bourbon Basement, no spaces. It should be one of the first ones that pops up. All that being said, guys, hopefully you look forward to next week. Thanks again for giving us so much time out of your day. All that being said, it's been Ryan.
And Steve.
Why drink alone?
When you can drink with us.
We'll see y'all next Friday.
Hey, can I have a hug?
No.
I'll settle for another warm Kentucky hug, then. I'm drinking yours, by the way.
Kentucky tea hug.